Welcome to the 180th installment of Ear to the Ground, the Land Stewardship Project's podcast on family farming, sustainable agriculture, local food systems, and local democracy. I'm Brian DeVore, editor of the Land Stewardship Letter. When Paul and Sarah Freed purchased 51 acres in southeastern Minnesota a decade ago, their plan was to use the land's hilly terrain to produce wine grapes. But they soon realized that the farm had potential to be home for more than just a vineyard. Today, the Freed farm is the site of a pastured pork operation, as well as a vegetable enterprise that sells through farmers markets, group homes, and schools, as well as a small community-supported agriculture operation that makes fall deliveries. The Freeds, working with fellow farm resident Jake Olsen, are also setting up a permaculture operation that will eventually consist of fruit and nut trees, as well as berries. Arriving at this mix of enterprises has not been by chance. It's come about via trial and error, and periodically stepping back to assess which enterprises are paying their way and which are not. Paul and Sarah say their ability to decipher weak links in their farm business while planning ahead is a result of the training they received through the Land Stewardship Project's Farm Beginnings course, which they graduated from in 2011. That training, coupled with their experience in LSP's follow-up course, Journeyperson, exposed them to making decisions and setting goals based on not only the land's carrying capacity, but the family's quality of life and where their farm fits in the wider community. The Freeds say one of the most valuable things they got out of the course was an introduction to holistic management. Developed by Alan Savory, this is a decision-making framework that has helped farmers, ranchers, entrepreneurs, and natural resource managers around the world achieve a triple bottom line of sustainable, economic, environmental, and social benefits. A good decision-making framework is particularly important to an operation like the one the Freeds have, since it is set up as a Catholic worker farm, which means it welcomes members of the community to take part in producing fresh, sustainable food and taking care of the land while working for social justice. A key part of this concept is making both short-term and long-term decisions as a community, and holistic management provides a framework for such a process. I recently visited the Freed farm and got a first-hand look at its various enterprises and how the Freeds and Olsen are setting the stage for adding more. After the tour, I chatted with Sarah about how Farm Beginnings and Journeyperson help them set up a decision-making process that allows them to integrate or stack their various enterprises.
Farm Beginnings itself helped us with being able to plan and really take seriously the time that we needed to sit down with our community. We live in a community house. So to sit down with Jake and Paul and I and really think about, okay, where is our plan? What are we going to be doing? What's important? To not let things just kind of happen, and also to make sure that we were incorporating all the different aspects of our farm that were important, whether it be the household or the off-farm jobs or, pigs that we have and that kind of thing. It also helped us with any issues that we came up or problems that came up and helped prioritize. So we were able to bounce any problems or decisions that we had to make or address against the holistic goal that we had created, and to figure out what was our weakest link, what needed to be addressed now, what could wait till later, and what resources we needed in order to solve those issues.
It sounds a little bit like, too, once you got going, you've been able to use some of that training to look at, well, here's a enterprise that, I don't know, maybe it was fun at first, or maybe there was people who said there was a market for it, and they really liked this product that we're producing, but it's really from a quality of life standpoint, or it's just not paying off maybe economically, that it helped you kind of do that decision making and kind of narrow it in, focus in a little bit. I think one thing you'd mentioned was when people say, hey, I love these chickens you're producing, it kind of gets your ego going and all that, but maybe it's just you got to pay attention to how many people are saying that kind of thing.
Right. And for us, we had raised turkeys a couple of years, and people loved them. That was great. And I loved raising turkeys. They tasted so great, but it wasn't, we really had to think about that and say, how much time is this taking us? What's the payback at the end? And the time that we were spending on it, we needed to cut that off, because we had more important things that needed to get done, and that time needed to be spent on those important things versus out taking care of turkeys. So we may do that in the future again, but that was something that enterprise was a real good example of that for us.
And then, so you, a couple of years after you took Farm Beginnings, you took Journeyperson. That's a program that we've kind of set up a few years ago to help people once they've taken Farm Beginnings, or maybe they have a few years under their belt and they're taking that next serious step. But why was it sounds like you felt the timing was right for you to take something like that.
We had recently gotten a new community member, and we were not stalling necessarily, or just kind of riding the waves of kind of day-to-day kind of things, and not really, and getting really bogged down on just dealing with day-to-day farming life, which there's a lot of stuff to do. So our long-term plan wasn't there. We were kind of going from year to year thinking, gosh, what are we going to do next year? And so it was a perfect time to take Journeyperson, because it really focused us in and forced us kind of to make a plan for a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and really kind of start to think about that and put into place steps that we could take in order to get there. And it also delved much deeper for us into the holistic financial planning, which was fantastic. And then also acknowledging what gifts we bring, where those needs would be filled, and just kind of opened up more conversation for our community, and talking about, where do we all fit in, and how does this fit together in what we're doing and the enterprises we're doing.
And that's something we should point out, is your farm is a very community-based farm. I mean, that term is used a lot and it's used loosely, but you maybe describe a little bit about your Catholic worker farm, and what does that mean, and it sounds like that is what makes this holistic planning even more important, maybe, because you're trying to bring in people from the community as far as the decision-making process.
Yes, we have a Catholic worker farm, and that means for us that we live in community, we farm in community, we are socially justice-oriented, trying to be just in all that we do also, so raising our animals humanely and just practices with the land and the soil. Yeah, so having other people live with us, other community members living with us that are all part of the farming and the decision-making, it was key to really learn and practice the things that we learned in Journeyperson, because otherwise we would really flounder. So, and we have at certain points, but for the most part, it is really important to make sure that we are making decisions together, so we all know we're all on the same page.
So going back a little bit to the farm, kind of the enterprises you got going here, you have a CSA, a small CSA, you're raising vegetables for farmers markets, and you're starting the nut trees, the kind of, and the fruit trees system. But it sounds like one of your favorite things is the hogs. Why the hogs?
I love the hogs, and I never thought that I would say that, but I really do. They're fun. They each have their own personality. They can be cranky. They can be, not to anthropomorphize them too much, but they do each have their own personality. And I personally like to see the whole range of, we raise our hogs farrow to finish. So farrowing meaning that we birth them on our farm here. And that's one of my favorite parts of it, is to see that process. It's been really great for for my girls, or for our girls to see that process also, and see birth, and see what happens, and then being able to say, like, these pigs were raised here, we know what we fed them, we know how we've treated them and handled them, and then be able to give to our consumers a product that we're really proud of.
And it sounds like and you just showed me the system you have that you're kind of setting up, but you're already utilizing with your berms and swales for your perennial systems with your nut trees and your fruit trees. But you've been able to take the hogs, and if they were just fun to raise, that would be one thing, but you have been able to integrate them into your vegetable production system. Can you just give a brief outline of how that's kind of integrated in?
Sure. So in the fall, when we're done harvesting, obviously there's some produce that is left in the fields because it's rotten, or it's just too small, or something happened, or forgotten. But we run our pigs through there, and so they glean everything that's left. They clean it up for us, and then fertilize, a natural fertilizer from them. And so our soil is left better, I would hope, than it was started. And we also currently right now, we're running our pigs through an alley in what we call a pig tractor. It's just a big fenced-in rectangle with a little bit of a shelter on one end, and we move that every day. And so they kind of are tilling up the soil a little bit and digging out their yummy favorites of hay, and then also just little bugs and grubs and whatnot and roots. And then that turns the soil for us, and then also gets that fertilizer right in there. So it's a really great system. We don't have to buy fertilizer. We have natural fertilizer from our animals.
For more on the Land Stewardship Project's Farm Beginnings and Journeyperson courses, see www.farmbeginnings.org. If you have comments or suggestions about this podcast, contact Brian DeVore at bdevore@landstewardshipproject.org, or you can call 612-722-6377. Thanks to Laura Borgendale, a Western Minnesota musician, for Ear to the Ground's theme music. And a special thank you to all of Land Stewardship Project's members who make initiatives such as this podcast possible. If you're not a member, visit landstewardshipproject.org to learn how you can support LSP. Thanks for listening.